What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Niners News here on 49ers Hive. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn. And today we're going to be talking about the 49ers making an unusual trip east, I guess, to Arizona.
Yeah.
Matt, they find themselves in a peculiar situation here. Santa Clara County recently came out saying for at least the next 3 weeks, the 49ers cannot play or practice at their home stadium, Levi's. Now they're going to be in Arizona. How much is this going to affect the team in that time period?
Well, before I get to that, I just want to say that on the preview show, I predicted a huge Rams win. Egg is on my face. Kyle Shanahan owns Sean McVay. I don't know if he has the key to his house or if he can kiss his wife whenever he wants, but I mean, Kyle Shanahan can do whatever he wants to Sean McVay because that's 4 straight wins. Another clean sweep of the Rams who, they're off and on. They're hot and cold. I think they're kind of the most streaky good team you're going to see. So I was wrong. I'm happy to admit that. The boys went out there and played hard, and they pulled one out. So back to the topic at hand, though. It's going to be difficult, especially given that the county didn't give the team really any notice, didn't have conversations with them. And more so than, on one hand – you understand from a safety perspective, if, whether you agree or disagree, what the county's trying to do is trying to keep the most people safe. And, you'll see people online talking about that. This was a possibility. Who cares about football? We're talking about lives. I get all that. The real issue is the lack of communication. The team had been working hand in hand with the county for most of the season. And this is just an exacerbation of the earlier thing that we saw when the state said that the 49ers could potentially have fans at their game, and Santa Clara immediately came out and said no. So this is just another layer to that. And it really puts the team in a bind. It's not just about, football. It's about family. Okay, what are they going to do with the families? What are they going to do with travel? It's going to be hard on the players to practice the place and, stay in a hotel essentially while they're practicing in a place that they don't stay. So that's really, and you could see that in the post-game pressers. Kyle was really emotional about that. I think, was it Raheem Mostert? Raheem Mostert was, everybody's pretty emotional about that. This is holiday season. People want to be around their families. And now for the next however long, the 49ers have to stay in Arizona away from their families. And it's that it'd be one thing if they had notice, but to do it again, right around game day, when you have a game against the Bills coming up this week, short notice. And I think that, it was just a little short-sighted. It's rough, and it's going to be rough on the team.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway from all that is just this kind of fractured relationship the team has with the city and the county of Santa Clara, going back to when they first came over here. I mean, there was talks back then. I remember, living here that the county was like, don't come over here, basically. The city was kind of trying to work something out, and the county was like, look, we don't want you here. Don't come over here. There's no benefit to us, basically. Mm-hmm. And ever since then, it's kind of just been this kind of tug of war of power. Yeah. And I'm sure you remember that story. I think it was either last year or right before last year where they came out saying that this team owes them a bunch of money, that they hadn't been paying them their rent, basically. And it was this whole case that played out in the media. Yeah. So it's just unfortunate how this has happened. But, the team did not seem happy with how it happened. I'm sure they would have handled it like professionals if they would have just been told with adequate timing to plan, a move. But they weren't. I mean, Kyle Shanahan basically said, we found out through you guys, the media, and that kind of rubbed us the wrong way. So I agree with you that it's going to be tough. They're going to have to go, I think I watched Kyle Shanahan's press conference today. It's Tuesday while we record this, and he said that on Wednesday they'll be heading over there. And just because of the fact that they do play on Monday next week, that they'll pretty much just treat the rest of this week like a normal week like they would. But after that, it's going to be interesting to see how they're able to kind of stick to a normal schedule. He said they're also going to be, basically practicing and playing where they live. And, guys get sick of it after a week. He said, a reporter, I don't remember who, asked him, compared to how do you compare this to your Youngstown trips where you stay in Youngstown when you have back-to-back games on the East Coast? And he said, look, that's always great and all, but we're only there for a week. After that, come back. He said after that week, the guys are already sick of each other. We're all sick of each other, and we usually play well, but that's just because we're so motivated to actually get out of there. So they're going to be there for three weeks. I mean, without their away games, but it's just, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a long trip for them. But there is one positive here that I want to get your opinion on is, if I understand this correctly, Arizona is able to have a small amount of fans, right?
I believe they are, yeah.
So 49ers fans, if that holds up, they should be able to have some fans go to those games. I don't really know how that would work. Tickets haven't been available for sale all year. I don't know if they're suddenly available now. But
I doubt that they would make tickets available for 49ers fans for those games, just because it's such short notice. How do you really organize that kind of thing?
True.
It'd be really nice, but I don't think. And then you have that, the added, if you're doing this whole thing for safety, right? And then the 49ers go to another state. Now you have fans traveling out of state. And then it's, it's one of those things where, but this is really, this is more about public face and what's going on. We're more so than, than keeping people safe, because there's been no fans of the game. So it's not about a general public type of thing. And it's really odd that, NFL players are the most, athletes in general are the most tested people in the world. Yeah. They get tested constantly. The NFL has strict protocols, and you see what happens when teams don't live up to that. But all of the Denver Broncos last week, when their quarterbacks were all out, so it's a weird stance from I understand the college teams, because college, those kids are on campus. They're around other kids, whether or not they have class. A lot of them, when they're on the football team, are from out of state. They're their families don't live in state. They're coming from far away. I get that. That's one thing. This is a professional football team that is not interacting with the public, as a general rule, according to NFL guidelines. So to me, this just seems like the county added the 49ers as just kind of a middle finger. And it goes back to what you said, when the county never wanted them here in the first place. It's been a contentious relationship. The 49ers didn't even get together with the county in terms of redesigning the stadium that was meant for San Francisco. So it's just one of those things where, anytime you can stick it to somebody you don't like, you're going to do it. And to me, this is not a health thing. It's really not. And nobody can really make the argument that it's not, that it is for health reasons. Because, again, athletes, coaches, anybody in the organization, they're all tested. So, yeah, to me, that doesn't hold weight.
Yeah, that's a good point. Unfortunately, I don't think that there's yet to be a confirmed case of COVID that was contracted at an NFL game amongst players tackling each other. I don't know how you would prove that, but still, I don't know.
No, it's more likely to come from people that your family member was in contact with somebody, and then you got it, and now you're sitting in meetings or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. That's where it's gonna spread or whatever. But even then, in terms of teams handling COVID, the 49ers have been really on top of it as far as, hey, if you've even had a sniff of somebody who may have it, you're going on the close contact list, the high risk category. And, unlike some of the teams like Tennessee, who's had a huge outbreak, or, Baltimore with a huge outbreak, Pittsburgh, they've had their outbreak or whatever. The 49ers, they've had a couple guys go on it, but they've been able to mitigate the huge outbreak because they've been following the protocol set forth by the league. So the county kind of throwing them in, it seems like a little bit of sour grapes to me, but who's to say, there's a lot of things that get said, that aren't necessarily for the best of health. It's more to put on a public face. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, definitely. And I know Kyle Shanahan said today that he expects Brandon Ayuk to come off the COVID list as early as tomorrow. So that's really promising. Hopefully we get to see Tebow and Brandon Ayuk for the first time, or not for the first time, but, fully healthy.
Really
this
for the
Monday
first
night.
time. Yeah, really for the
Yeah,
first time.
yeah.
And it's just unfortunate that Jimmy's not back yet because, well, I don't want to pick on Noodle Nick too hard, but you know how I feel about that.
I mean, it seems like this is a really pivotal moment in this team's season, and we'll talk about this in the next couple episodes. But either they're going to hit their stride right now, and it's going to be a moment that they look back on and say that's where things came together, or it's going to fall apart Monday night against Buffalo, and they're going to say, all right, that's where we kind of packed it in for the year. But
yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where like this it's one of those watershed moments where it goes two ways. They either band together as a team and decide that they're going to overcome adversity together and stick it out as a team and make it through, or they're going to let this, crash their season and crash their playoff hopes. So it'll be interesting to see which way it goes.
Definitely. Last question before we wrap up. Is it a benefit to get away from Levi's where they haven't really had much success all year?
I don't know. It's really hard to say, mainly because there are some creature comforts at Levi's that can contribute. Maybe family was getting in the way just a little bit. Again, in terms of when you're comfortable in a situation, maybe you're not focusing as much on the game, whereas on the road, you're at the hotel, you're with the team, you're doing your thing, and you play better that way. It's really hard to say, but I don't think that this situation, last minute thrust upon the team, is really in any way beneficial. So it's going to become the onus of the coaches and the players to come together to say, hey, we're going to overcome this really crappy situation. Levi's hasn't really been a home field advantage for the team over the years. It really hasn't. It's, honestly, the way that it is, it's one of the worst fan setups in the league just because we have the hot sun and, it's a huge open air stadium as far as like missing sides. So sound doesn't really get trapped. You have the planes flying overhead that create a bunch of noise. So they've shown that last year, when they had things going, that the stadium could get rocking. So it's not that it's getting away from Levi's is going to help them. I don't think that the stadium is really the problem. There's just been a lack of focus this year overall just because of the injuries. But I don't think that you can say getting away from Levi's is necessarily a net positive when you weigh that against what Santa Clara County kind of thrust upon the team last minute.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We're going to end things there, guys. If you like what you see, hit that subscribe button below. Hit that like button as well. Drop a comment. What do you make of the 49ers move to the desert, at least for the next 3 weeks? And if you like what you see, you think we're doing a good job covering the team here, hit that subscribe button below. We are around 1,100 subscribers, very close to our goal of 10 million. So make sure you join 49ers Hive. Subscribe below.
Go ahead and click the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Thanks as always for joining us. And until next time, go Niners.